The Anaheim Packing House is a cornerstone of Orange County's tourism. It's a bustling hub of food and community, but every historic landmark has a story behind its walls. The history of this building and the citrus industry it served is deeply entangled with some of Anaheim's most profound social and environmental injustices. This isn't just about history, it's also about understanding the foundation of systemic inequalities that persist in Anaheim right now. Anaheim was built on orange groves and developed through cheap exploited labor. The workers who picked the fruit and packed it into crates here at the Sunkist plant were mostly Mexican and Mexican Americans. They faced intense racial segregation. They were forced to live in separate areas called barrios, which often completely excluded them from the main city. These barrios lacked basic infrastructure, so they didn't have paved roads or running water, while the other neighborhoods did. The white neighborhoods are the ones that flourished. Picking orange groves was an underpaid job, and there was poor conditions for these workers, so the workers organized in 1936 during the citrus strike, which was Mexican American citrus workers demanding better wages and better conditions, and so they did this by walking out of the groves. This angered the growers, so the law enforcement and growers got together and put out an order called Shoot to Kill. The whole thing got really violent. There was many arrests and many deportations. This next part is just a recording inside the packing house that talks about the history and their little film room.
Commission. Agriculture is the chief industry of Orange County, and Mexican nationals, Jamaicans, and German prisoners of war have been imported to assist in the picking and packing of the unusually heavy crops of citrus fruit.
There was also something called smudge pots that was used to protect crops from frost. Thousands of smudge pots were being used by growers, but the smudge pots burned oil and it created a toxic smog in the air. The smog was extremely close to the workers' housing, which caused respiratory illness. But the white residents didn't suffer the same, but they did complain about the smell. This industry also used really strong pesticides like DDT. The health risks caused by DDT were ignored, which affected the workers and their families' health. Again, like the smudge pots, the pesticides were mainly used in low-income, marginalized communities. The packing house today is a symbol of successful urban renewal, but the historical patterns of inequality persist in modern Anaheim. The communities that were segregated a century ago are often the same areas identified today in formal environmental justice communities in the city's official planning documents. These neighborhoods are more likely to be next to freeways, like the 5 freeway and industrialized zones, which lead to illnesses like asthma and other sicknesses. Also, there is a disparity in green space and tree cover, so many affluent areas are cooler, while the low-income neighborhoods get more intense heat, which leads to high health risks during heat waves. I do feel it's important to note that there are advocacy groups fighting issues like social contamination from past industrial activities and lead paint. So there are people fighting because of the environmental neglect in OC. One group is called Orange County Environmental Justice. The Anaheim Packing House story reminds us that environmental and social justice are inseparable. I think that solar panels and compost are all great for sustainability, but I also think it's really important to learn about the exploitation and all the work and hardship that it costs to make Anaheim what it is. There have been environmental costs, and still the fight for environmental justice in Anaheim is ongoing.